here in the World Gym Arena. This is going to be an incredible contest to kick us off this week here on the Reality of Wrestling. Two former champions in their own right. Bryan Keith, of course, has been the Reality Wrestling television champion, as well as one of the longest reigning Reality Wrestling champions in history. And all things are pointing toward the Rise to Wrestling Royalty Tournament coming up very, very soon. Channel, we want to thank the over 455,000 subscribers to the Road channel. And there comes Swisher House's own Bryan Keith. Well, the professional himself, Brenden Steen, a man who spent much of 2020 on the shelf and in quarantine, but not because of the pandemic, because of an injury that he had that could have ended his career. He separated several ligaments and even ruptured an artery in his arm. Thankfully, the rehabilitation went through well, and Brenden Steen back on the roster of active competitors here at Reality of Wrestling. Of course, the Rise to Wrestling Royalty Tournament, like I mentioned previously, is coming very soon here on the channel. Brenden Steen was a finalist in the very first Rise to Wrestling Royalty, that single night elimination tournament. Brenden Steen made it all the way to the finals and ended up losing to Zach Mason. There's our opening bell from Isaac Bouillon, and we get started here this week on the Reality of Wrestling. Collar and elbow right there, sending Bryan Keith into the turnbuckle. Bryan Keith reverses out of it. Brenden Steen. Bryan now back inside the squared circle. Two veterans here, going over a decade for both of these men, 20 years combined experience. Brenden Steen has traveled this country training. Bryan Keith has been a day one Reality Wrestling student, has been strongly influenced by the Japanese strong style, as they call it, growing up here in the Greens Point area, a product of Aldine ISD. Oh! Going to work on that. That was that arm I talked about earlier. It was severely injured during last year, 2020. Brenden Steen shoots off Bryan Keith. Bryan Keith, Brenden Steen finding each other in the center of the ring. Shoulder block cancels one another's out. Newton's laws of motion in full effect. The shove there. Oh, and look at that. Bryan Keith, a couple of quick strikes. Oh! That right hand chop to the chest. Oh, headbutt right there. And that is what you got to love about the professional. The professional, Brenden Steen, uses every appendage at his disposal as a weapon. Oh, look at that. Throwing Bryan Keith right out of the ring onto the ramp. Bryan Keith recovers rather quickly. You saw the normal smile of Bryan Keith turn to a grimace rather rapidly as he now is sending those kicks, the fastest kicks in the South, to Brenden Steen. Oh! As times go on and, oh, there's more mixed martial arts techniques incorporated into our sport of professional wrestling, and you start to see the kicks becoming a major part. And wait a minute here. Referee Isaac Bouillon checking on Brenden Steen. Bryan Keith, not sure if Brenden Steen's playing the fool or if he's actually legitimately injured. Our referee checking on the situation here. Bryan Keith was on a roll, having to take a second. Look at that. Wait a minute. A closed-handed overhand right. Fist right to the jaw of Bryan Keith. That would knock most men out. The Lone Ranger has a strong chin. He is not Mr. Glass whatsoever. Oh! The lower lumbar of Bryan Keith feeling affected by that backbreaker. That knee going right into the lower back of Bryan Keith slows him down. Now double hook. Look at that. Just some old school wrestling for you. Brenden Steen going for the cover here. 1, 2, and a kick out. Strong kick out there by Bryan Keith using both legs. Not enough to keep the former champion down again. We have a massive card for you this evening at the Reality of Wrestling. Our main event is going to be Gino Medina taking on Mantell. Whoever wins that match in our main event will be in line for a championship opportunity against the current champion Cameron Cole. Also, coming up tonight, you're going to see Roxy versus Danny B. Cover. 1, 2, and a kick out. Look at that, though. Now, note the double leg kick out earlier from Bryan Keith. That time, only able to get that left shoulder up at about 2.5. Going right back to work on that low back. Grabbing the chin of Bryan Keith. Pulling it back, extending, hyperextending the neck. That's where, if you're in the gym, the trapezius muscles will come into play. If you do neck lifts, those come into play. You've seen many of your favorite athletes working on all aspects of their bodies to prevent from any type of submission maneuver. Oh! Big chop there. Bryan Keith trying to get back in this thing with a couple kicks. One of his main weapons in the arsenal. Now some foot stomps. Foot stomps there from Brenden Steen. And look at that. Oh, running backbreaker again to Bryan Keith, who is now writhing in pain. Can the former champion and tournament hopeful Bryan Keith get back into gear here, or will the professional Brenden Steen mark another W in his long list of wins? Oh, look at that. You can feel it echoing throughout the World Gym Arena, home to Booker T's Reality of Wrestling. Oh! And that is going to buy Bryan Keith a little bit of time, as Brenden Steen now falling to the outside. Referees counting. Up to a count of 5 right now is Isaac Bouillon. Oh, look at that. Well, he's going to have to restart the count, as Bryan Keith was impatient to have Brenden Steen get in on his own. He's decided to do the work for him, still clutching that lower back and now looking for a side effect. Brenden Steen, look at that. Oh, my goodness. Belly to back suplex from Bryan Keith, and you saw it took all the strength Bryan Keith had to get the big Steen over. Oh, look at that. There's the side effect. Cover. Cover. 1, 2, and a kick out by the professional. Bryan Keith turning to the Row Nation, looking for a little encouragement. Back to a vertical basis. Bryan Keith pointing up to the sky. What is he thinking next? Oh, there it is. Russian leg sweep. The Russian leg sweep from Brenden Steen that won him the television championship. And now he's taking his time. Wait a minute here. Hold on. Oh, we know what he's looking for. Brenden Steen going up to the top rope. Gonna try to get that diving headbutt. Bryan Keith, center of the ring. Oh, wait a minute. Had him misaimed. And Bryan Keith was able to get the knees up, getting Brenden Steen right in the face, and here it is. Rodeo DDT. Cover. Cover. 1, 2, and 3. Bryan Keith victorious in our opening match. was back and forth there for the majority of the match, but I thought that the apparent injury to Bryan Keith's lower back was going to do him in. Nevertheless, the Cowboy did what he can only do. Cowboy up, and he is victorious in our opening contest here on the Reality of Wrestling as we march forward to that Reality of Wrestling's Rise to Wrestling Royalty pay-per-view event coming soon to the Reality of Wrestling YouTube channel. Bryan Keith, impressive in our opening match.